and rolling. We should now be live everywhere. Let me check the audio real quick. Live everywhere. Let me check the audio real quick. Live. Yep. Okay, we're good. We are live on Twitch. Not seeing anything on Restream. There we go. We're live on Restream. What about on YouTube? Move that there, and then I need to do the stream tweet. Where's the stream tweet? There. There we go. All right. And we are good on YouTube as well. Perfect. Perfect, Rise. Okay. So, forgot the chat in front of me, of course. We're ready to start the show. We're going to go ahead and start the show. Now, we have a couple difficulties tonight when it comes to our Thousand Sons. And as you can see, we have a lot of them. Do a nice little setup here. Difficulty-wise, we have three main difficulties tonight. First one is that I've already painted one, and I made a lot of mistakes with him, but I don't remember which colors I used for everything. So we had to find the colors, right? That's the first part. Second difficulty is that most of these models, because they were primed white and have been sitting for a while, are kind of dusty. I've already cleared one of them off, but we'll have to clear them off as we go. And the third problem, which is unfortunate, is that we are painting blue and yellow at the same time, which will make green if we're not careful. So we've got one guy dusted off already. We're going to start with him. And last week we ran into a problem with the sound alerts where people couldn't hear them because the music was turned down so low. I've turned the music down in the playlist now instead of on the computer, so you should hopefully still be able to hear everything. But we're going to start with this boy right here. And the goal is to make him look like this guy, but hopefully better. So to do this, I found my stand. And we're going to put him on the stand, like so. This gives us a little bit more ability to paint him without having to worry about just holding the base. It lets us hold him upside down and stuff and still paint. So that's our boy right there. Also should make it easier for all of you to see. So that's great. But the first thing we have to do is we have to try and match these colors. So I have a couple blues here. Knocked over the heavy gunner. And I think we start by trying to find the blue because that is our primary color. And so I went ahead and dusted off the model. So all of the dust should be off now, which should make it fairly easy paint. Emphasis on should. Also, my priming work was not perfect, and I can see that now. So there are some spots that are going to be interesting primed-wise, as you can tell right up here at the top. Some rough stuff there. Am I going to get G-Generation Eternal when it comes out on cell phone, Iggy? It is very hard for me to say no to an SD game, so probably once it comes over here. Now, the Pterodon Turquoise exploded. You can see all of the blue on the top of it up there when I was opening them up earlier to take a look. Which means I know I've opened it before because I didn't close it right. That's why it exploded. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wet our brush. And we're going to dry the brush over here. And then we're going to try each of these blues and see which one looks closest. Honestly, this is in the way. You can't see it. That's pretty close to the shoulder there and the arm. Brush was also still pretty wet. Or it could just be that paint is wet because it exploded. Dun, 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 dun. Let me know, chat, if the music gets too loud, and we'll bump it down. All right, let's try Leviathan Blue next. And again, I apologize that we still don't have that other camera. The month will roll over soon, and we'll get paid again, and then there will be a new camera. Hopefully, instead of my feet here, there'll be another camera that looks down from above. That is a much darker blue. I don't think that is anywhere close to the color that we used last time. So I will bring that up here where you can see it better. This is a much darker blue. I think we can safely say it is not Leviathan blue, which is good. Also, for anybody that's like, oh man, Trey, we're gonna get 2 painted tonight, right? We will see. The reason we were able to get 2 Space Marines per stream is because I knew what I was doing with those, and I definitely don't with the rubrics. But once we get going, I'll get into a little bit of the lore with the Rubric Marines too, because it's actually really cool. So this Aethermatic blue looks really cool. I like it. I don't think it's the shade we used before. Also very, very wet for a contrast paint. But I don't think that's it. I think it might be a nice like touch-up paint in a couple places, but that's definitely not the paint we used. Okay. Okay. Also, it's not super apparent here, but I used, instead of the normal gray for the end of his bolter, I used the white because I thought it made it pop a little bit more with the gold. I messed up the gold a lot there. And hopefully I don't do that on the rest of these guys, but it was my first time painting blue and yellow together since I was a child. And, you know, I made some mistakes. All right, let's try Achelian green. A little bit of that on the brush. Oh, that is a nice dark blue color. That could be... It's not the blue we used. You may question, Trey, why are you putting that on the shoulder there? It's going to mess up the model. Well, that shoulder needed to be redone anyway to make it match more of the other shoulder. So, a little bit of extra blues there won't. Also, this is the guy that I tested it first on, which is a huge mistake because he's the most important. He's the leader, the aspiring sorcerer. But, yeah, that's not the blue. So, it's definitely Pterodon Turquoise, which is good. We also have to find out on the gold, because I think the mistake that I made is I started with Iandin yellow and then went to Nazdrig yellow. And so I think there's a coat of Iandin and a coat of Nazdrig on there. Now we know we need the Pterodon Turquoise. That's a good start. And again, for anybody like, just hurry up and start painting, bro. Oh, man, I want to make it right here. I don't want to make it wrong. And I could have done this before the stream, but I thought it would be interesting to discuss how once you start painting a set of models, you should probably keep painting it, because it can lead to stuff like this. Yeah, that's definitely not... That's the color I started with. We definitely went to Nazdrig afterwards because it was too yellow. And the Iandin yellow is the one that mixed in with the blue and made a lot of green all over the model that I then had to go back over it with the turquoise. And I super wasn't happy with. But we'll go to... Yeah, that Nazdrig yellow. I'm used to Nazdrig yellow. I know it well. For instance here, we'll get a little bit more of that wet off there. We can come through right here. And that is exactly the gold I was looking for that. A lot of these colors are going to pop a little bit more on these because they were painted gray. which also means your mistakes are far more obvious because they were primed gray. White, I guess. But definitely, they do look really good when they're done because of it. Now, I'm going to keep turning this model down here to make sure that I have all of my inspirations right on the colors here, because it's been so long since I painted them, and I want them to be a set. I also like how this gold is just a little bit more like brass gold. Like a brassy gold. Not brass gold, that's not a thing. But this was the gold that I painted my Custodes in. Yeah, I messed up a little bit there and got a little bit of that gold inside the crease there where the blue's going to be. But, you know, we'll figure it out. If we wind up going with some different colors in places because of it, then we have some different colors in places because of it, you know? That's how it is. So, Thousand Sons are really interesting lore-wise because they were a legion that turned chaos. They betrayed the Emperor. But they didn't betray the Emperor because they wanted to. Their Primarch is this guy named Magnus the Red, who is like a really good psyker. He's incredibly skilled when it comes to psych power. And so most of his troops were like at least decent psychers, right? Or they didn't mind it so much. But the Emperor was very against psychers. He didn't want his people to be using psychic power because he knew that they would draw it from the warp, you know? They will. And so it would be that one day the Emperor told Magnus, he was like, hey, stop using the warp. Just stop. Don't use it anymore ever again. And Magnus didn't listen. Because why would he listen to his dad on that? He was a great sorcerer. And he tried to keep things subtle. He tried to just do magic on his planet, Prospero, right? But he found out that Horus was going to betray the Emperor. And he teleported using magic straight to the Emperor's throne room to let him know. Like, hey, you know, Horus is going to use magic. Or Horus is going to betray you. But he used magic to do it, and Imps was like, hey, you're done, son. And blew up on him, basically, threw a big fit. But what Magnus didn't know is that when he teleported in, he also, like, destroyed part of the Emperor's project that he was making for the webway, which would have been a safe way for people to go through the warp. And Magnus, like, wrecked it when he teleported in. The Emperor was just mad that, you know, his toy had been destroyed. And so then instead of telling the Emperor that Horus was going to betray him, Magnus just got mad and left. And then, I keep messing up. You see that? That little bit of gold that shouldn't be there? It's also like the light. I may need to change the color of the light because it's kind of hard to see the white. There we go. A little bit easier to see the white now because of it. But, so, Magnus goes back home. And meanwhile, Horus knows that Magnus knows that he's going to betray the Emperor. So Horus goes, hey, Lehman Russ, our brother Magnus, he's totally betraying the Emperor. And Lehman Russ is like, what? And then Horus, who was the War Master, says, yeah, Dad wants you to go beat him up because he's betraying him. And Lehman's like, okay, if you say so, Horus, you're the boss. Dad told us to listen to you. If you say go, then I'll go. So he does. And He invades Prospero. I'm trying to make sure we don't have any more gold we need to paint here. Need to get the insides of his helmet here. So he invades Prospero. Enjoy your meal, Will. And beats Magnus up and kills most of his guys, right? He kills almost all of his soldiers. And it's really not cool, right? And then he takes one of Magnus's eyes. So Magnus is super not happy with what's going on. And Magnus is like, why would you do this? And then Lehman is like, hey, Dad told me to. And so then Magnus is like, oh, no way. If Dad has told you to come destroy me, then why would I stay loyal to him? And so then one of the Chaos Gods, Tzeentch, goes like, hey, bro, you're in trouble, right? I'm the god of magic. You want to do magic. I like magic. Come and work for me. Sell your soul to me, and I'll let you do all the magic you want, and you can escape your dad. And Magnus doesn't really have a choice because he's about to be destroyed and all his people. And so he just goes, all right, fine. And he takes the deal and teleports away with the rest of his soldiers. There's a lot of detail work on these guys. I may have to get a smaller brush. They're gonna look really cool though if I can pull this off. Friday's going well. It is going pretty well, Blown Alibi. Thank you. I finished a game I've been trying to beat for review earlier. I'm going to give this just a light dusting of this gold so that all those little details in there pop. Then we'll come back over it and get the blue for the hands. It should just really make it shine. So anyway, Magnus escapes. And see what I mean by letting the details shine through there? I think that's going to look really good. Maybe have to give it another pass later, but I'm going to get the top of the gun here. Yeah, I was telling people that might not know that are going to watch this later or watch it live the story of the Rubric Marines and how they became who they are. So Magnus, he sells his soul to Tzeentch, right? The promise of power and the ability to escape, get away. And then turns to chaos because he has to now that he sold his soul to Tzeentch, you know? And what he doesn't know is at this point, like, Horus is fighting the Emperor. Things are not going well for anybody for the most part. And Magnus is kind of just out of it the whole time. I mean, he's lost an eye, he's lost his planet, he's lost a lot of his people. He can't really fight anymore the way that he needs to right then. He gets a lot stronger later on and becomes like a cool Cyclops. What is this? Oh, okay. That's the inside of the... Gotta not get too much of that. Okay, there we go. And we'll go back over that later. Man, I almost want to leave these guys white with the gold. I actually think they pop really well. I'm afraid I'm going to mess them up with the blue. But, he's working for Tzeentch now, and so then Magnus like tries to figure out the meaning of life and study a bunch of magic and become all powerful. And we don't know this, but it seems to me like he's probably trying to figure out a way to break the deal with Tzeentch. Good luck with that, man. But meanwhile, while he's doing all this, he's got this guy on his team whose name is Ahriman. And Ahriman is like this great sorcerer. And Ahriman is like, hey, you know, we're losing people. Yeah, go on a Space Wizard sabbatical. Absolutely. Yeah, he needs to, you know, take a break. He's had a hard time. He lost an eye. Ahriman is like, hey, Magnus, I know you're busy. Like, our people, we only have like 1,000 people left. They need to not die or get like corrupted by the warp or anything like that. And Magnus is like, all right, yeah, I mean, you're right. It would be great if they didn't get corrupted by the warp and become demons. You have a plan. And Ahriman's like, yeah, just trust me, bro. Just trust me. We go way back, right? And Magnus goes, okay, I guess I'll trust you. We do go way back. And so Ahriman, like, does this complicated spell called the Rubric of Ahriman. And what it does is it turns all of the Rubric Marines into dust and seals them inside their armor. So now they don't get old. They can't be corrupted by the warp. They definitely can't turn into demons. They're also not really alive anymore. When Magnus finds out, he's very upset. Because that is not... These were his boys. These were his sons, you know? He's very upset. And he throws a fit, but it's too late. He can't just turn them back. So now Magnus has to turn from trying to figure out how to free himself from Tzeentch to try and figure out how to free his sons. But the basic rubrics, the regular guys, like, I mean, yeah, the monkey's paw curled, right? The regular rubrics, they're like, you know, they're dust. They can't do much at all. But they can fight because they're stuck in their armor. But the ones that have psychic power, they're still able to think, even though they're dust. And they can remember what it was like before, even though they're dust. And the special thing about the Thousand Sons, it's one of the reasons why they're my favorite Chaos faction, is that they didn't ever want to be traitors. They always wanted to be loyal. And so there are reports of many Thousand Son sorcerers that, especially now that they've been turned to dust because of Ahriman, are just looking for a chance to turn back loyal to the Emperor and die fighting for the Emperor. And there's one that gets captured by the Flesh Terrors, which are a Blood Angel subchapter, and his name is Omori, and he fights against a demon to try and die loyally for the Emperor. And then there's another one that we don't know his name, but he winds up finding a dreadnought that was one of the Emperor's children that didn't turn chaos, and helps him strike a devastating blow to Fulgrim, the demon primarch of the Emperor's children. But they just want to be left alone, and now, you know, the rank and file can't even really think for themselves anymore. Just sentient dust. They can't even take their armor off. They take their armor off, the dust will escape. Ahriman got in big trouble for that and got, like, excommunicated. But, of course, you know, he doesn't care. He works for Tzeentch now. That's all that matters to him. And Magnus can't do anything about it because Tzeentch gets to call the shots because Tzeentch owns his soul. Faustian bargains, man. Be careful what you sign for. Read those EULAs. But that's pretty much the Thousand Sons thing. They are far more magic-based and psyker-based than most of the other factions. Also, I'm saying it is, man. The Thousand Sons just wanted to be left alone. And there they are now, stuck. So now we have the difficult part. We got to add the blue. And, you know, if you went to grade school, you might know that blue and yellow paint don't mix very well. There's actually a really cool song dedicated to that story of the Thousand Son Sorcerer that meets with that Dreadnought. I think the channel's name is Stringstorm. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think we're going to do a better job than this one, because on this one I started with the blue. And then when I came back over with the gold, it melded in, and I also started with the wrong yellow originally. So, let's give this a go. But there's a really cool song. I can't remember what it's called. It's Rylanor is the name of the dreadnought. Definitely worth hearing if you're interested in some cool Thousand Sons stuff, because they're not the main part of the song, but it's all told from the perspective of Thousand Sons Sorcerer. The biggest problem with this blue is it kind of goops in, but it also really pops afterwards. So I don't dislike that about it. It's like it's not nice looking really because it's not dry yet and because some of the mistakes, but that is a really nice color for that pauldron, and it really pops with the gold. Another thing I really like about Thousand Sons, and I'm not using the colors that Games Workshop tells you to use to get them box accurate. I'm not really worried about being box accurate with everything. I want them to be my Thousand Sons. So I'm using colors that I think would look good. And that's one of my favorite things about the hobby is you don't have to have lore accurate. Like if I showed up to a tournament with these Thousand Sons being slightly different color, nobody's going to be like, hey, get out of here. You know, yeah, they shine a little more. I like that about them. Nobody's going to tell me to leave because I came with my own custom color Thousand Sons. Now, with Space Marines, you can make like successor chapters. That's what I've done with my Blood Angels. That's why my Blood Angels are slightly different color than the regular Blood Angels. You can't really do that with Thousand Sons because they just have Dust Marines now, Rubric Marines. But again, nobody's gonna stop you from playing them just based off of the color you painted them. And if they do, man, they are way too invested in this hobby, and they need to breathe for a minute because some really cool paint schemes that people can do. I missed a spot right there with the gold on the right. Right there. Got it on this hand. We'll have to come back and get it. We're gonna need to fix the focus again. Grab that. Real quick. There we go. Currently losing your mind at the end of CS2. Cannot handle the emotional whiplash. Yep. That's CS2. I love that game so much. All right, I'm going to give a very light dusting on this here. I'm not going to focus on trying to make it perfect because I don't want to overdo on the gold here. I just want to make it shine from around it. Still want all the detail to pop here. Just a little spot right here. But it gives them kind of like a weathered look, you know, this blue with the way that it worked. Yeah, it's a really fun surprise there right at the end. I think I want to come back over that face with a little bit more gold. To make it shine a little more, but you can see some bits of green that are starting to get in there where the gold and the blue are meeting. Yeah, I definitely want to come back over that face with a little bit more gold. I think it got a little bit more blue than I wanted it to. That's back to Thor's big. Yeah. 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 That whole ending sequence is incredible. CS2 is so good. I'm trying not to say too much because I don't know where you're at in the ending. We got a little bit too much green in there, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, the main goal is that they look good. The only one who can say they look good. I mean, anybody can say, I guess, but 34th epilogue, yeah. That song that plays, man. Song gets me every time. I will remember you. I feel like the Thousand Sons here are going to be what teach me a lot of lessons I need to learn about how to get extra brush control. I'm definitely getting there, but it's not easy. Yeah, I Will Remember You is such a great song. Now I don't know which was better, starting with the blue or starting with the gold, because kind of having the same effect. Ever have patience for that? Lego says, yeah, for sure. I understand. Brush is still a little bit more wet than I wanted it to be there. But the important thing to remember, even when you make mistakes, because I'm making a bunch right now, is that it is always better to have a painted model than to have gray plastic on the table or white plastic on the table. And nobody is going to be like right up on top of your model when you're playing with them. If they are, like, what are they doing there? Because they should be coordinating their models and getting them where they need to go. And your model is going to be one of a bunch of models. Don't sweat it if you mess up, because it's literally better to have done anything than to have shown up with just gray plastic. I struggled for a long time in actually starting painting, because what if I mess up these models? They're not cheap, you know, I don't want to have to try and buy new ones. And at the end of the day, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to paint them. And as long as I'm happy with how it turns out, great. If I'm not happy, I'll just redo it. Like this back right here. I'm really not happy with how this back plate's turning out. But I'm going to go back over it with gold, and that should make it shine a little better. Pushing, yeah. Time stops for no one, for sure. When are you going to get a break? You know, you're not. That's how life works. Especially because, like, in most games when that happened, you would have, like, a long time of just nothing going on to recoup from it, you know? Like an interstitiary chapter or something. Meanwhile, Cold Steel goes, hey, yeah, about that. Stuff's happening. You should probably take care of it. Save everyone, please. Okay, now for the arms. Then we'll go back over with the gold, and then we'll finish up with the white and really just make this thing pop. It is a tough color scheme to handle here, blue and yellow. But I actually think it doesn't look half bad right now. I'm a pretty emotional person, and the end of CS2 definitely. Finish this game, plan to take a long trails break. Yeah, I understand. Anime catch up on Gundam. There's some good stuff. I haven't watched Wish for Mercury yet. They actually took down the preview that was on Gundam Info. I was going to watch it today, but I'm really looking forward to watching that. It seems good. I don't know why they took it down. Hopefully we get some responses on that and a re-upload soon, but maybe a sub was wrong or something. There's some good Gundam out there. Rungren's been making his way through Zeta Gundam with me, and we've been talking about it on the podcast, and it's reminded me just how much I love older Gundam. New Gundam's good too. It just, start from the beginning. Very nice. Yeah, we watched Mobile Suit Gundam, and then we started watching Zeta Gundam, and we're halfway through with it now, and we'll be covering our thoughts on it halfway through on the podcast Tuesday. Alright, I really got to get this back spot here right. It's bothering me that it's not. Yeah, I just got to come back over it with some gold. This would probably work better if I was doing layer paints, where I could do like a layer of one and then the other, Already seen it with the Mess team? Nice. With the Mess team's very good. My girlfriend and I have been watching Cobra Kai. I'm really enjoying that, but I really need to check out the Kamen Rider Double anime. I want to make a video on that. because that seems really cool. Those with the gold there. At the top of this with the gold there. Missed a spot there on the blue somehow. Alright, let's get this tailpiece now. I think I might need a finer point brush for some of this to really make it pop. That's gonna take a couple coats of gold there to stand out too, because it got pretty covered in blue there. Alright, I think for the most part that's pretty good. Gold. Do some touch-up stuff here and there, but for the most part that looks pretty dang good. Far from perfect. I can see all of the mistakes, you know, but, you know. Your friend Super Demon Kamen Rider, trying to come serious, but it's just not for you. I understand. It is its very own beast. For people that like anime more and don't really like the live action stuff as much, I think the Netflix Ultraman and hopefully the Kamen Rider Double anime will be a cool way to be like, you know, yeah, I think that's a cool thing. I've watched the animated version for people, you know. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're going to push that up right there. Gold should come out in more control when it dries. A couple spots we're going to touch back over with the blue. A couple spots that are going to have a second coat of gold at some point. But for now, let's do a little bit of touch-up blue, and then we'll do the white. Then we'll call this guy done. And then we might go ahead and do the blue on the next guy. Because again, from a distance, you're not going to see any of the flaws. And I know that I've messed some stuff up here. But for the most part, not the worst painting job I've ever done. Though it's definitely the worst one that I've shown here on the channel. But I actually don't hate it. It's just really difficult to get that and not bleeding together, you know? And I think once it's had time to dry, it'll look a lot closer to the other guy. Sometimes we can be our worst critics. That's very true. That's very true. And I think once it's had time to dry, it'll be a lot closer to my aspiring sorcerer. Right. Now you could say, Trey, why would you paint white when the banner on its base is already white? Well, because I want it to pop. I don't want it to just be like a default gray. I want it to really stand out among all of the other colors that are on this mini. So we slather this in here, kind of like a wash. The gold will definitely dominate. We don't have to worry about covering the gold too much. We're going to mix just a little bit in it there to lighten that. Mix some of it in there to lighten that. And then what we're going to do is a really cool thing that I found out while painting the Aspiring Sorcerer, which is if we go back over the gun, the bolter, with a little bit of this Apothecary White, it will bleed into the holes that we left with the gold. Once it's done, welcome back, Will. Once it's done, it should look really, really cool. That's way more paint than I meant to put on that gun barrel. We're gonna lather that, and then we're gonna get that off of there. Took your controller off the room with something barrier related happened in your playthrough? Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so now we get the extra paint off so that it doesn't just goop there. One thing you never want is like excess gooping, because that will really, that adds like an extra layer to your model in a way that you don't want it to. But the effect is there now. A little bit on the back side here. I feel like I know what barrier thing you're relating, or you're talking about there. And yes. I want to do just a little bit more touch up with gold real quick, and then we're going to call this guy done. I know we only got one done today, but we're going to go ahead and get another one started. Next week we can get them going, because we got a lot of boys to go through here for the T-Sons kill team. Hopefully soon we can get a kill team game recorded. Girlfriend has a day off. Why did I grab the blue? He wanted to do gold for his gun. Well, we got the blue now, so hearing some soundtracks again for sure, for sure. Yeah, we got the blue out now, so I guess we're gonna start on the blue for this guy. Do we want to do our heavy gunner next? I feel like we want to do our heavy gunner next. I mean, look at this guy. I really want to get the gold for his gun though, so next week we're gonna get the gold on his gun. We're gonna get this guy, but before we can start painting him, we gotta get dust off of it, because these white minis for sure really show the dust, and I think you'll see how different it is once we have the dust off. And I use a dry brush for this. How much does it cost to fire this thing for 10 seconds? Far too much, but you can't build dust, so you know. They get away with it. I also want to come back next week after, or I say next week, 2 weeks from now, after this guy dries completely. I just rattled the camera, and get the eyes there, but I don't want them to mix with gold. So we're going to wait for those and come back for them. We're going to start with the blue here. Couple spots. I've also already picked out the model kit we're going to start building next week. I have tried Gundam Evolution. I've made 2 videos on it now. The first one was a first impressions of the Steam version, which had one of the worst launches I've ever seen for server-wise. And the second one is me actually playing it. It's fun. I like it. It definitely has some slight issues that I would like to see appealed. Specifically, like, some more game modes would be great to balance out the fact that most people just want to get kills and don't want to play objectives. And they've already said they're working on some new game modes, so that'll be nice. I really like playing as the Ethis and the Ashimar, just because you get to fly. I like to fly. Blue on this boy. Zaku suits. I understand. I understand. Hey, Sieg Zeon, man. I understand. I want to unlock that other Zaku that has the counter stance. It seems pretty dang cool. Yeah, it is. It's Gundam Overwatch, and it's pretty obvious with stuff like the Pale Rider, which basically just has Soldier's moveset. But I'm not a huge fan of the stuff that old Blizz has been doing, so I don't mind getting to play that kind of game without having to give them any kind of support, you know? So I probably wouldn't be playing it at all if it wasn't Gundam themed, to be honest. I have got blue all over those talons. All right, let's try and quick fix that. Almost. There we go. How many PS2 Gundam games? Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Some good ones too, and then some not so good ones. Gundam vs. Gundam is pretty good. Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam is pretty good. Zionic Front is really solid. I like Zionic Front a lot. Want just a little bit of this on the brush as we try to get around that gold plate there. Okay, that's going to be difficult to get the rest of that on, but it'll be worth it. And of course, the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games I really like, but I also love Dynasty Warriors, so that's not really a surprise. Get the interior of the arm here and the hand. I pulled it too close to me and I wasn't noticing that. I was focused. Couldn't see it anymore. Sorry about that, chat. Like I said, hopefully next week we'll have that new camera. Might be a week late because I'm about to order it. But we'll have a camera that's looking down, so you'll be able to see everything. And you probably won't be able to see me anymore, but that's okay because my face is on too many videos on this channel already. All right, get that off the pauldron just a little bit there. There we go. Not know the colors on your models to mix with each other. Man, it is difficult. I spent the first part of this stream just making sure that these were the same blues of all the different blues that I had. It's pretty difficult, but I think it's worth doing because it really does make them pop. You have it right. I do. I need to get a finer brush. This is my finest tip brush, and it's not fine enough. I need to get a finer tip brush to be able to do this. Do. No, I like Thousand Sons a lot. I think they're a cool faction. I'm not a Chaos guy, but I do think some of the Chaos stuff was pretty cool. The Death Guard are really interesting and really nifty, you know. But if I was gonna play Chaos, it'd be T-Sons for sure. I'm not though. I'm a loyalist. I got my boys. My boys. Let's see, we are almost at time, which is just about perfect, because we have almost got the blue done on this guy. More blue than I meant to get scattered around, but pretty much the problem with the blue and yellow is that you wind up with more than you wanted to put in places you didn't want it to go. But again, I'm not going to worry too much about it if I've got some green spots. Because I'm just going to be happy they're not white plastic anymore. Or they're going to make Maze easier in Battle Alliance? Hopefully so. Who are the bad guys in 40k? Everybody. Everybody's the bad guys in 40k. And nobody. Except for the Drukhari. They're definitely the bad guys. So, like, Chaos is all about freeing yourself from the shackles of society. But they also sacrifice people to the Chaos Gods. The Drukhari just want to not have their souls eaten by a Chaos God. But to do that, she makes them torture people. The Eldar just want to be left alone, but also they want to be the last surviving race in the galaxy. So sometimes they'll, like, do some pretty messed up stuff. The Tau want to join all the races together in harmony in the greater good. But that also means that you have to do things the way they want you to do them. And if you don't, they will shoot you. The Orcs just want to fight. They don't care about anything else. They just want to fight. The Necrons want complete domination of the galaxy and the eradication of anything that isn't Necron. And, you know, the Tyranids just want to eat everybody. They just want to feast. Meanwhile, you have the Imperium over there being like, yeah, we're the good guys. You know, we do what's right. Except if you don't do what we tell you to do. In which case, then we exterminatus your world and send our super soldiers to kill you. So maybe we're not the good guys. We're just the gooder guys. Like, at the end of the day, that's part of the fun of 40k is everybody is cartoonishly villainous. Nobody's a good guy. And it's just shades of gray. But there are people, like, in the middle of all those shades that are the good guys. People that actually care about other people and want to protect people. Those people don't normally live long. That's one of the reasons why I chose Blood Angels for my Space Marine chapter. Is because their Primarch Sanguinius was one of those people. That was just like, hey, yeah, no, don't kill civilians. We're going to protect civilians. We're going to do the right thing, you know? Oh, those civilians aren't human? Well, that's too bad. They're still civilians. We're not gonna kill them. Oh, Sanguinius. He was too pure for the world of 40k. Alright. There should be plenty of room for the gold to come back in through here. Fan is blowing directly. It is depressing, but also there are so many times of like, hey, here's this heroic last stand, or here's this heroic character that stood up to do what's right, you know? And not all of them die. Like, Rabute Gilliman's still alive, for now. He died once, but it doesn't count. Imagine the Crossroads roster in Battle Lines, that would be pretty great. I want my Fenice. The real thing about 40k is that the galaxy has hit like a stalemate. So this is the opportunity for people to be able to like become heroes now. There are a couple heroes of the Imperium that are pretty good people that still stand tall above the enemies. Really, if you want like the people having the most fun, it's definitely the Orcs. Because they're just like, they love fighting, and they just want to keep fighting. One of my favorite bits of lore is if the Orcs win a planet, and they run everybody else off, then they just start fighting each other, because they still want to fight, and the fight's over, and they're not ready for the fight to be over yet. I think that's a really fun little thing. Yeah, the Orcs are pretty great. There's a reason that my girlfriend chose Orcs for her faction. She chose Orcs and Sisters of Battle, and I chose Blood Angels and Tyranids, so, you know. You may be asking, but if you chose those factions, why are you painting Thousand Sons right now? That's because we want to do kill teams here on this channel. We want to do kill team matches. And so I am painting all the different kill teams that we've picked up so that we have a bunch of different matchups to be able to show people, so that it's not just the same 4 armies always fighting each other. And hopefully we can start recording some of those. Alright, well, I think we got all the blue on this guy. A lot of gold to do here, but we're going to wait to do that until next week. At time, and it's not going to be a short amount of time doing all that gold. But we got all the blue done on this guy. We got this guy pretty much done, modeled after our aspiring sorcerer. And I will reveal the model kit that we're going to be building next week. Because for anybody that doesn't know, lost my paper towel. For anybody who doesn't know, we alternate every week between painting and building. And because of the anniversary that was just recently announced, next week we are going to start building the Gundam Unicorn, the full cycle frame prototype. So for a better view there, move all this stuff back and I can put the unicorn up close. It's very close right now. Next week we will start building the Gundam Unicorn. So hopefully everybody looks forward to that. I'm trying not to spill this water now that I've moved the desk around. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that painting minis has to offer.